Hey guys, this is Doc Holiday, and I wanted to walk through. This is an instance I've done before in video before. This is the Death from Below Mirkwood instance, but wanted to kind of walk through this in a little bit different way and kind of touch on a couple of aspects of learning to tank and practicing to tank. And I think this is a really good instance to kind of show some of these ideas and concepts, mainly because there's NPCs you have to worry about. There's also a lot of mobs. The other thing I was thinking about doing here is I started a little bit of a debate, and I figured I would see how quickly I can run this instance versus how quickly a champ can run it. Just as a curiosity, I'm assuming the champ can do it faster, which it turns out to be the case. But just kind of curious to see how things worked out. So the way this instance works is you have two NPCs. You kind of walk them through, and they're basically trying to reclaim this tunnel area from the invading goblins. Basically trying to seal it up such that they can protect it from the rest of the elvish encampments within Mirkwood. So one of the things that I try and focus on it when I'm in this instance is making sure I keep all the aggro on myself. So with that, I go through and do a lot of our AoE taunts, make sure that I pretty much grab everything. I also try and keep myself out of the fire. There's a lot of sappers in here that throw fire on the ground. And then, I'll keep my eye on the two NPCs, and if they start to get down lower than what I'd like them to be, I'll pull things out. They have a tendency to like to stand in the fire. But for the most part, I'll cycle through. Usually I'll end up doing our AoE taunts. I'll go through and usually get a desolation going, such that I can have the AoE dot as well as the fear going on everybody. Fear is kind of handy for these interrupts, just to go ahead and make sure that you can keep things interrupted. The inductions these goblins do are actually a stun, which is rather annoying, but you can kind of tide that. I could also go through and do actual interrupts and go through and use either boot or onslaught or something like that to go through and do that. So the other thing you just noticed was you go through this one point where I start to kind of booby trap the area. If you go through and pull these two mobs before they get to the group, he'll go through and finish his booby trapping, and you can just kind of keep these guys busy. It may take a little bit longer, but it seems like the longest part of this instance is waiting for him to finish doing that, so I like to just go ahead and fight and get these guys out of the way. And multitask a little bit, let him go off and do that while I keep these guys busy. The other thing I want to point out is I actually probably saw as I was looting the goblins, there's a quest pop up for completion. I use this instance to go ahead and farm for the badges, the Mirkwood badges that you use to barter for the horse and the travel and various other items. So I'll go through this instance is repeatable daily that you can get one of those with the gold star emblems, and you can also, there's another quest that is collecting 5 badges of dishonor, which you can loot off of the mobs that are down here. So usually you can end up grabbing both those quests, finish them both at the same time, and get those down to get two both in one shot. So that's kind of what I usually end up doing in this case. So you'll notice as I'm going through here, for the most part, I pretty much stay in the fist line. I use our leeches, which both build up threat as well as heal myself. I use a lot of, I use Desolation a lot to get the AoE, to get the fear. I'll also go through and usually get some dots taken on them. And then you'll see here I'm a little bit low at like 40%, so I'll go through and toggle up some hots. The other thing I'm looking to do here is to also make it such that it's easier for me to transition between this fight and the next fight. So after we do that, you'll see I'm getting a couple other badges here, and I just kind of let those guys go ahead because there's only 2 mobs up ahead of us. So it's not really nothing even too big to concern myself about. I'll touch on as we're kind of running through here. I am using a couple of the little plugins. I got Palantirs, is what you see up in front of me right now. I'm using buff bars. I also have a couple of the options turned on for buff bars. I'm not sure if I like it or not. I'm kind of getting used to it, where I have not only the different areas for my buffs and debuffs and cooldowns, but I also have that little horizontal scroll bar that basically kind of visually shows the progression of where things are. Kind of getting used to it, and actually I kind of like it because it's a little bit easier to get a feel for where things are and what's going on. Certainly the positioning of where everything is in my user interface I'm still kind of tweaking with. I know some people like it, some people don't, but it works for me. But certainly that little horizontal bar is an option in buff bars, and I'm kind of testing it out to see if I really like it or not. So again, we go ahead and set another booby trap. I'm going to go run around the corner here. I'm also going to eat some trail food. Those are some of the tasty rations. So those are from the vendors. I use those as out of combat morale regen, mainly because they're available everywhere and they're cheap. So I go through and I'll use those. And then the user interface that I use to go and grab those is actually tonic bars. So you can go through and create your own toolbars, your own extensions, which is what that was, to go ahead and hides and those kinds of things. So I have all my food on that. The one above that is all my horses, and then the one above that is all of my travel options. So that was the second poll here of those two. Now, this one is a little bit tricky. One of the things you'll notice here is there's a bunch of green ore. There's a green ore around all the different mobs. So what I'm doing here is I'm going into stealth. I'm targeting the signature in the middle here, and I'm going to go ahead and ambush them. Sometimes I can get there before the dwarfs catch up, sometimes I can't. So in this case, I ambushed him just to go and burn him down, because what ends up happening is that green aura, basically this signature has a, you'll notice the icon on his bar there, has a an aura that buffs all of the surrounding mobs. So basically, they really don't take damage. They basically heal through it so much faster than you can do damage to them. So the best thing to do is go and burn down this guy as fast as you can. If you get lucky, sometimes the dwarfs will go ahead and target him, and it makes it a little bit easier. But if not, just go ahead and just focus on him, burn him down as fast as you can, and then focus on all the little guys. So again, I'm trying to do as many AoEs as I can to try and get get as many ticks going on the other goblins as I can. It's also handy to go ahead and I'm using that to heal myself. That certainly is more what I use to heal myself as opposed to using the shield line. I find that I usually end up doing things in multi-mob pulls. So using the fist line, the leeches is not only returns more morale, it also damages them, and just is all around much more effective. Maybe not the most power conservative thing to do, but it certainly seems like it works out pretty well. So we are kind of grinding down here. I'm just kind of finishing up these three. Kind of one of the other things I'll put on here that I do like about buff bars is, you can set it up, or actually, that's Palantir. You can set it up such that when you get to certain levels of morale or power, it'll pop up and give you the option to use a potion or to use a wound pot or something like that if you have one of the ailments on you. So it's just kind of handy to go through and do things. It's one of the nice things that I really like about Lua is it does make things a lot easier. It makes the user interface much more customizable. So we're setting up the last 3 barrels here. So the dwarf will go ahead and run around. There are, you'll see here's another signature. This is just a normal one, so he doesn't have any sort of buff, so it doesn't really matter what order you kill these guys in. Unfortunately, you can't really pull him back, so you'll end up distracting the dwarf, so he'll actually goes ahead and joins in the fight. Good news is that he does finish placing that explosive before he jumps in, so you don't have to worry about him going back and having to do that. So this case, again, I've pulled everything onto me. I've used that. The other thing that I will do is, if I see that the dwarf's taking more damage I'd like him to, I'll use Conviction, which is our group-wide hot, for 2 reasons. One, it helps heal them a little bit, and 2, it also grabs any threat. So just in case there is any potential issue there, you can go ahead and pull everything back onto yourself. So now we're going through here, we're setting up our last of our barrels, and getting ready for in case any other mobs decide to come out here. And so now we've placed our last one. This is placing explosives here, so we don't want to stick around. So go ahead and take off. Look behind us and realize we're being chased by a rather large, nasty troll. So running is the more prudent option, at least for the dwarves. I could probably go ahead and handle them, but keeping the dwarves alive is probably an important thing. Notice they're running past that barrel there. So we're now going to go ahead here and make our last stand right against this wall. And here comes the troll, but luckily the explosive goes ahead and takes him down. So I hope that helps you out, not only in this instance, but in doing multi-mob polls and things like that. It's a good way to practice, and you'll see more from me.